One, and AJ. All right, well, welcome.
Welcome.
I was saying to somebody last night, now it's like change. We've had like the same group forever.
Yeah.
Forget when Tom ran. We'll have to drag
Yeah, well,
him in
what was
still.
it, 9 years, 3 terms?
Something like that.
Yeah, I think it was 3 terms anyways.
So we'll have to bring him back. We're not going to let him get out of it. All right. So I think I don't have any minutes. We probably won't. Eventually, I'll have to sit down and get those caught up, but they're just not that important. And at least now we have the recordings.
Right.
So I guess I don't know if we should probably consider reorganizing. So Tom was the chair.
Yeah, I think it's worth going back to the old standard of last year of, so it would be me this year, then it's you, and then it's you. That's why we typically done it. I don't really care about being the chair, but if you just want to go with the standard, that's fine too.
I mean, yeah, we're not super formal like some other
No.
boards are. I think we're, like technically the chair. Well, I think you were part of it when they had all those issues years ago. The chair can control the agenda.
Yeah,
Um,
that was, yes. Very dicey back then.
There's just no need for any. I guess parks is not that complicated,
Hasn't been that way for a long time.
I think. So I guess then I would make a motion to nominate AJ as chair.
Second.
So all in favor?
Aye.
All right. I'll have to update all my paperwork. Let's see, what are these? Oh no, these still have me as chair, so I better update that. That's a little bit in the minutes.
Yeah, we're pretty laid back.
Yeah, I was trying to open the agenda. Lost. Set items. Just real quick, because I think it's simple. I had emailed you a revised refund policy. I realized I was looking at it for somebody, and then I realized we never actually updated this when we had kind of started doing that last year. I cleaned up some language, removed references to Rec 1, changed a few things from like will to may, because we were saying it was a $25 cancellation fee, but I really wasn't charging it because Rec 1 refunds everything to us, like the processing fees, and it was just a pain in the butt. But the main change is basically saying that less than 14 days, you're SOL, but if there's somebody on the wait list and we can fill the space, then I'll give you your money back, because I think that's at least a little bit of a compromise.
Yeah, I think it all makes sense to me, the way the edits and all that seem
Because we
fine.
were
Best,
we got rid of those makeup days because that was just a mess.
I agree with that anyways. I think the first thing I thought of is people take advantage of it, and you wrote that they do. So
yeah, it was fine when we weren't full because it didn't matter. If if we only had, we had 20 spaces left. If you did or didn't go, it really didn't matter. But now that we're full,
yeah,
it's like you turn somebody away and then somebody else doesn't come, and that's not right.
Right.
And I actually think the busier we get, the easier this is because we fill up sooner. It's when there's like one spot left the week before, that's when it's a mess.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping, actually, so you want to vote on this then?
On the edit to the refund policy.
So maybe a motion to adopt it, or I guess I'll make a motion to adopt the revised policy.
All in favor?
Okay, so let me just mark that. Yeah, and then related, so I'm looking at updated software, which I think I mentioned before. It's going to have to wait to the fall. The more I thought about it, there's no way we can switch it over, but
too much of
I know
data.
Well, I don't know. Do you deal with it, or does your wife deal with Rec 1?
She must. I don't.
It's not super user friendly. Plus the credit card processor we were using is ending, and they wanted us to sign on with a new processor. When I talked to them, it was like $3,000 plus all this startup costs, plus a bunch of changes in how the money gets handled. That was just not good. So I ended up talking, it's a company called Ultra Camp. They're specifically mainly a camp software. But they use Stripe, which the town is already using and gives us some control over the deposit. So that, I mean, I don't know if you deal with this when you have electronic deposits, you have to do the paperwork for the town with the date it hits the bank account. So if your provider is putting money in the account every day, at the end of the day, closing out, you have to do a KVS or Springbrook report every day, which is just ridiculous. Whereas right now it's monthly. So once a month, I just do a batch deposit for $25,000 and call it a day. Stripe, we can configure that to be monthly, weekly, like Viewpoint, I think it's weekly. But it sounds like they have all these features with like self-service for refunds, things like that, that I think will make some of this stuff much simpler. The whole wait list process sucks in Rec 1. We're doing kind of a sketchy thing to make it work, but it's not very user friendly. So that's that. I think I may talk to them over the summer and see maybe we can switch the shack over because it's going to get us a credit card terminal. That'll be a little better. But I think in terms of registrations, we'll have to wait till next year and load it up because that'd be insane to transfer them over.
Do we know cost difference between software now and software you're looking?
Yeah, hang on. Just typed it out because I was sending it to Jason about. Oh, a second, it's in here somewhere. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so right now with Civic Rec, we're paying a minimum of $100 a month. We're paying, and then if you exceed, you pay some percentage of sales. And it roughly is about $3,000 a year. And then we pay credit card fees at 2-3%. That's the same. So that doesn't change the credit card fees. Ultra Camp is a little bit higher. Yeah, $2,600 for the vendor and $6,000 in credit card fees is what we were paying, and we just consider that in our pricing scheme. Ultra Camp is $3,600 a year, so it's a little bit more money, but it's way more features. But Civic Rec would have gone up another $1,000 a year with all the credit card bullshit. It was like, I think it was $3,000 startup and then $1,000 a year and all these fees. Because it sounds like the payment processor we're using is fair.
What is it worth it? I mean, we have, well, what do we have in the account? Revolver account.
Plenty.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen that, but it's a lot of money.
We have, I haven't updated this.
It's over 100, right?
We're in really good shape. And I think we should look to spend down some of that money on various kind of mid capital projects. I mean, like we're talking about basketball courts.
What can we use the revolving account for?
So our parks account basically can be used for anything parks. So basically swim lessons and beach admissions and season passes go to the town, and the general fund pays the lifeguards. The snack shack and the rec program and field use go into the revolving fund, and then those expenses come out of there. And we basically have used the revolving fund to finance these mid-level projects. So like the beach project, we contributed certain, like the stuff around the playground, equipment we've done.
So what mid-level projects do we have?
Well, I think that's on here too, to go through some of these. And I know Tom did a lot of work on it. We should probably re-up. At some point, I want to make like maybe even a web page that lists what we're doing and what we're making progress on.
Prioritization list of projects.
Because we've been getting, I think there's a lot
High in the list, well, at least
of work to do.
high in his list was having a parks building, having our own building.
Right, well, I mean,
And so that was potentially senior center, but that's off the table now.
no,
So,
I think we need to look at the building behind the fire station.
yeah, and
And I
they,
think we need to start looking at what it's gonna cost to get that where we need.
Yeah, well, I should sit down and re-up this again. So I think some of that's on the agenda. So we've got the field light project, which was paid for, it would be a grant. I think on the basketball courts, we will likely need to supplement a little bit, which we had already planned to replace those fixtures that just stalled out with DVT. Let me go through this.
that was a big connection because Tom, was
Yeah.
EVT for years. Still works with them. So he was the one making some of those connections, and I don't know if that's off the table.
Well, I think they were great. It was just COVID.
Yeah.
They lost all their offsite during COVID, and they did the bulk of the work at this
Yeah.
point. I mean, the remaining electrical work is swapping out the panel. The big thing is the poles. So basically, those 8 telephone poles are not long for this world. So the thought is, if we're already doing all the work in the field, we might as well put in 8 more poles, and we got the money at town meeting for that. I do need to write the bid spec for that project. That's now that Brian has started, that's next on the list. And I know Tom offered to help with that since he's an electrician, among everything else.
Yeah.
But
Boy Scouts are, as you may know, Boy Scouts are real involved. You know, they're constantly working on
so I'd
a
like
project at a time.
to go through this, but we've got the basketball court, the update of the basketball tennis court. And I believe we were going to pay the basketball portion. Hang on, I get 100 different things. Where's the court spreadsheet? Nipmuc Youth Basketball had committed at least 5,000, probably even more at this point. The total
They're
project
back.
is,
They're,
yeah,
actually,
he sent me a thing.
he did,
Yeah.
because he bought
said
that
it
one or
was.
something, so I didn't call him. It's Dave Allaire. Basically runs that. Larry Michaud, I talked to him the other day. He's not
Was he
involved
done?
because he had all kinds of surgeries,
Yeah.
but it's basically Babe and Dave Allaire.
But so I think that's going to happen probably
Yeah.
late in the summer.
Big.
Yeah.
Big.
They agree.
And that's $14,500. So if they're, if they can pay 5,000, we're looking at, 10 grand, which is money well spent for basically maintenance on that court. I do have a question about the pickleball, which we can come back to because it's off topic. I know we had talked about that lot up by the tennis courts where I think, we would pay for the materials. If, either highway can do the work or maybe we just need to contract somebody to go up there.
We can do the
it.
work. It's easy enough to
Just
spread it out. I
getting
would
on
recommend
schedule.
you get millings, which you can get for free or cheap. Put it in there. We'll spread them. We'll compact it. And then it hardens right up like the
Yeah.
asphalt does.
Oh yeah, well that's what I would love to get the millings from this 16 project, but I don't know if that's gonna play out. I've been bugging the selectmen about it on and off. Unfortunately, I think sometimes the millings get given to the contractor as part of the thing. We did have and I'll have to write it up and clean it up. We had talked a lot about that Millville parking lot and trying to kind of refresh it, narrow the opening so it's a proper entrance instead of a free for all. Maybe get some big boulders.
The big
The
parking.
dirt parking lot.
Yeah.
So if you put some big boulders, narrow the entrance, maybe pave the front 20 feet so it doesn't get ripped up, and then it needs drainage and it needs millings or something. Because it just, they did a bunch of work. So
Softball.
Chris Collins.
Yeah.
He went, we bought the material, he spread it all for us, but it's already turned to shit again
Yeah.
in a month because there's just so much water comes out of
Yeah.
that field.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, that was one we needed to work on. At some point, I still think we should look at buying a small subcompact mini motor type, real small tractor. I don't know what highways needs are, but I know for us having just something little with a bucket on it would turn. There's so many little jobs that we could do that we're hiring Sean Belland, begging highway to help or having somebody from the youth
But you
sports.
need people with a license to do it.
I would probably get licensed. I just haven't pursued it. And again, that goes back to the argument of having a maintenance person that has all those same licensures that would then have access to existing equipment.
Correct.
I mean, same with water. We've had situations with water where if we had a little thing with a bucket on the front, you could do a water service instead of having to pay, $5,000 for Hydrotech to come out.
You're talking a scooping bucket and not like the digging arm.
I think in an ideal world, you'd get one of those little. I looked at it once, a Kubota with a loader on the front and a little excavator arm on the back. They're like $25,000. You can do leases. We could pay the lease right out of revolving if we had to, and it's like a $1 buyout after 3 or 5 years. I think, did you guys lease something?
You have a couple of leases right now.
So I mean, there's a ton of those, and then there's longer term projects, irrigation on Tatro. I'd love to get a golf cart for the camp at some point. And then the huge one is
Golf cart for the camp is easy.
we
You have the money,
just buy one, but
just buy one.
that's something to look into. There's still some ADA walkways and paving parking lot work that needs to get done at the park that was from years ago that just, they said, oh, set aside 10,000, and then it never came to fruition.
Yeah. That was Kevin Rudden was
Yeah.
with that, right?
So there's some spaces, some striping. It'd be nice to, I mean, these are all the projects that just don't happen because I'm stuck sitting on a lawnmower. And then the big one, like you're saying, is the building. And so
I was gonna say, I have that at the top of my list, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna start looking at the building behind fire.
I can tell you, I'll share, I sent you a bunch of it. So we
But I'm gonna start getting.
priced out a building at the park.
Yeah.
There's about a steel building, like 30 by 60. It's about $300,000. That's like the perfect location. But with the Morrison building, you really could, if you could just do the floor and basic utilities, and I think that is like 10 grand to get the power out there. And maybe if you follow up with Jones, they knew about it. I think BVT could come in and do some of the finish work later on. That's perfect for them. It's ground floor and simple. If we just got it so it's habitable, it has utilities. The well is there.
You have to have a bathroom and a
The
sink.
septic,
right?
my understanding is the septic is like 80% done. It just needs to be finished, but it was done. It's designed, probably need to re-up the permitting. The well is there, but it can't be a public water supply because it's too close to the building, but that's okay if we're just going to use it as a workshop.
Well, that's why I was thinking workshop, and we had talked about it before in our proposal about DPW offices.
Yeah, so that's fine because
Yeah.
you're 25 or less people, you won't, highway's not a public water supply. The thing you couldn't do is turn it into a community space. Or so like we own that land behind it. So my thought was you could have bathrooms in there that are open and have a field on the paddock property. And that's another discussion we should get into. But I think in the short term,
So
it's a decent location. It's near you. It's near us.
thoughts on that, and I'm open to whatever you guys think, is that we look at that building, we say, this is what we want to do. This is our goal for this building. Long-term, not just right now with utilities and the concrete floor. We start getting ideas as to how much it's going to cost to make this a conference room with offices and bathrooms. And we start working out a price so that we know what we're looking at, and then we can start asking for it. I mean, let's face it, parks needs a home.
Yeah, well, I think this is probably
And that
the big thing, and we should plan on bringing this to them for November. We're
there are
done.
a lot of people that know about that building and say it's just gonna go to waste.
Right.
It's like, so if you guys are asking for a new building up at the field, if you're asking for that, or you're asking for a building down there that's already in place and we
Right.
just have to do some work to it, people are gonna be more inclined to go with
Yeah.
that.
They
Yeah.
want to see it used, yeah.
No, I'm with you. I don't see what else is going in there. I've had a few people reach out about potential recreation use. The problem is I think you have to have walls inside it. It can't be an open cavern because of how it's engineered. So it's no good for that. Senior center doesn't want it. I think, it's as good of a parks building as anything else.
Parks building, so you have the garage to go in, and the only, is it just one garage door, or is it?
So it's a pull through. It needs a little bit of work. To be honest, I would love to see us. So I don't know if you know, like where the garage is, it's like in like 3 feet. I'd like to see that extended so our full truck and trailer fit straight, which I don't think would be a lot of work to do at that point.
Like I said, I'm
Um,
gonna start talking to people again.
If you had-
prices.
Yeah, if you have some time, maybe we can go over there and like walk around and talk about it.
We do that after this.
And just brainstorm ideas. I think I sent you those plans I had kind of messed around with. Yeah, you could have bathrooms with a separate door, so you could just have that unlocked and have like we have at the park. I will tell you, so regarding fields, it came up at a select board meeting. They are very interested in having a discussion that would be a joint discussion with parks and them about the next steps towards doing some sort of a study to look at, what do we own? What can we do? I had mentioned to them, I still have some conflicts on Wednesday nights for the next couple of weeks, but I think towards the end of June, we should plan on meeting with them and talking, because as we saw the discussion, we've got to do something with field space. There's a meeting, did I send it to you? There's a meeting, I might have not gone to you, John, on June 10th, that mendonma.gov community project. is going to do like a workshop to talk about what they've been working on. They've been focusing mostly on school athletic fields. I believe it's June 10th at 7. I'll resend the thing to you. But I think after that, we should probably anticipate some sort of a joint meeting with select board to just talk about, what properties we have, what makes sense. Because we've got the CPA money. Fields, we could build 20 fields and then we can't maintain them. But yeah, I think if you're willing to keep looking into this building, I think that's probably the next biggest thing we need to deal with, because I'm spending way too much time moving shit back and forth and up and down
So
and
I think we need to,
having to bring equipment and working on it somewhere else.
we need to go down there and look at it and say, okay, what do we envision for this
Yeah.
building? So that I can then start talking to contractors and get ideas for like, okay, we want a wall here, we want offices here, we want a conference room, we want.
Yeah,
And you're gonna want to, if that's where your main staff's gonna be based out of, you want a break room.
oh, well, I think, yeah, and maybe talking about what highways needs are, maybe do you
I'm
potentially
not worried
build
about
it all over
I'm
there?
not worried about highway
Yeah,
as far as. The only thing you would see from highway over there is I would move myself and Darlene over.
so you
to
think
the
you'd leave your break rooms?
and leave, open up our office space for more use at highway and move us over there so that all three of us are in the same area.
Yeah, well, I think that makes a lot of sense, and especially, long term, if we transition towards a DPW or some structure, or, in the future of having a water department, whatever we do, it makes sense to have everything together.
I mean, the only other thing I would say is like right now, we don't have a meeting room, so I have to come up here for meetings. If we could have a meeting room in that building.
Yeah, like a classroom.
Yeah,
like that.
exactly.
I mean, really, what they were proposing in the basement of the new senior center, a small space with the tech. And I think that's a space that you could rent out to scout groups that would want it, if you did it in such a way that it was like right off the main door. Yeah, so we should look over that, because I do know, I mean, there's support. I know Mike Goddard. There's potentially, I think, ARPA funds they had set aside for the old senior center, but I think that money may still be accessible. We just need to come to them before December with a plan.
Well, I'll start working on it now. If we figure out what would work for that space down there.
Even if we just could say, we're going to sign a contract with an electric company to run the server and get power to that building. That's 10 grand right there, get it done.
So is that something we could pay for out of the revolving account?
We could, but I also think that I'd rather see that come out. I'd rather see the revolving account go towards, I don't know. I have to think about that one. We can, legally we can.
That's giving parks a home.
Yeah.
That's giving you a workshop. That's giving you an office, not down here. Like you'd have a legit office.
We
giving
can't,
parks a home to
we
work
can't
on.
pay the $100,000 to.
No, I'm
put
saying,
foundation.
no,
But
I'm
if we had
saying
to-
like, okay, if it's gonna cost 10 grand to put power in the building, that's a show to the board that, hey, we're serious about this and we're already doing this. Let's move forward with, these are our other plans, so let's figure out funding for it.
Yeah, being proactive, yeah.
Yeah, well, we can look at it. I think, sorry, I opened this and then forgot to answer the question. The current balance is 126,000. Of that, probably, this hasn't been updated yet. Probably 10,000 of it is money for the camp that we need for salary. There's probably a solid 10 to 20,000 of the opening expenses and all that.
I mean,
But $10,000 we can
let's
afford.
look and see. You talk to Jones, I'll reach out to him too.
Well, if you reach out, yeah, it was
But
Al Jones, I think, was part of the building.
I'm gonna reach out to Jones. I'm also gonna get two other.
Well, no, the reason to ask Jones is not for the work. So they did something weird there. They like ran the conduit, I think, goes to the transformer at the fire station so it could run off fire's generator, but I don't quite know if they have the capacity. But for our purpose, it makes sense. For a new building, that you're going to sell, you have to have your separate service. There may even be options to like run something on poles in the air from building to building that, gets it done and works. It isn't the end of the world. But yeah, he just knew what was in the ground for the conduit, because they had it also, it was supposed to be interconnected. I'll dig up. I have some of the plans from that project and some of their estimates. But I think I would agree. I think we should push that and potentially bring something to them for November to say that, you know, we're done waiting. You know, because there doesn't seem to be any other plans for this building. You know, the old senior center is ideal, but unfortunately, I don't think that's happening.
Like I said,
If
we
it
could
does
take a
happen,
ride
it's not
down
gonna be
there
on our
and
timeline.
We could take a ride down there, and because it's the dirt floor, you just take spray paint and go, okay, this is gonna be your garage and your workspace. This is gonna be offices. This is gonna be conference room. And you can just write it right on the floor.
Well, I'll send you the thing I used. I just did it on the computer, and maybe it's probably off by about a foot, but I just messed with different ideas. And there's probably people that would work with us for a decent price.
So there absolutely is.
Mark Allen or
Like
somebody.
I said, I have no problem chasing people down and doing that.
If they'll help us draw it out and sketch it out. But yeah,
I mean, I can talk to Danny Levasti.
yeah.
Yeah, the engineer,
He works for
Yeah.
Koopman, but he does blueprints and plans for things. And if I brought him down there and say, look, the shell's already here, but this is what we want to do interior. Can you put together a set of plans for us? It's gonna cost probably a couple grand to have him do it, but not even.
That's money well spent too.
Yeah, not even a couple grand.
And that may be stuff, we'll have to ask him, that may be things that they're willing to pay out of that ARPA money that he set aside too, to just say, hey, you know, can we get 2,000 to do this? But either way, we can pay for it.
that sounds good.
But all right, yeah, so we should look into that. The other one, speaking of that, the bathrooms at the beach, I think is probably the next thing we start looking at, but
Oh, yeah.
that may be a project for later in the summer to see what can be redone.
Why wait till later in the summer? Why don't you try and get it done before the beach opens?
No, like completely rebuild, reconstruct them. You know, massive, there's no way we're doing that in 2 weeks.
You get a contractor in there that can bang that out in 2 weeks.
We would be so utterly screwed. We're so behind. You can't even permit it. We'd have to have all permitting, engineering, go out to bid, minimum, and there's no way. So what I want to do, again, you know, long-term,
You're talking about
the beach, at the town beach, we have tight tanks and it's a whole mess. What I'd love to do is put a leaching field out by softball, because that's the only place it can go, and have a pumped system and stop paying $600 every time we have to pump our tanks. We had talked about doing some septic design work. We got a price. It was like $10,000 just in engineering. And I think we had talked about maybe just doing a perk test and trying to, because the other problem is the leaching field can only go in one part of the park because it has to be 400 feet away from our well. And then potentially rebuilding that block, the separate bathroom building. You know, maybe I mean, I would love to have just a bunch of individual stalls because they get used for changing, but I don't know what best fits on the space.
I mean, you have space to expand it.
A little bit, yeah, but it would trigger conservation. It would trigger a lot of things. But if you could do the septic and change it over and just have a pumped system, that would save us a ton of money. But I think in terms of the beach, that's probably the next phase of that project. But I'll go through this list again and try and update it. I know we've gone up and down on all these different things. I think at some point, before I forget, baseball, but maybe softball wants to come talk to us about Grant Field. If you haven't seen, so something happened. Somebody used chemicals and basically burned all the fields. We're not really sure what. They resodded Zella. We contributed a little bit, and they did as well. I spoke with the other guy for baseball, whose name I'm forgetting. No, the maintenance guy. He's another landscaper. But they have a plan to deal with the rest of the outfield in the fall. I guess they have a lot of new parents that are interested in doing some work. But there was some interesting thoughts on Grant Field. Potentially, they may just want to resod the infield and just leave it alone. But Chris,
Which one's Grant?
So Grant's the one in the back, the Little League field in the back.
When's that for, like the fall ball or something? Are they playing now?
They're using it
They're
now.
almost done, right? I mean, they do it after.
There's almost
but
nothing in the fall. Yeah, this would be in the fall.
In the fall, yeah, okay.
But Chris Collins mentioned to me the other possibility is to turn it into a skin infield and maybe even have it be a dual baseball softball field. You'd have to have a portable mound
Yeah, right.
for baseball, which CPA would pay for. The problem is it potentially could open up some complicated discussions between the leagues on sharing the space. But on the flip side, you've got 3 baseball fields, 1 softball field. There's, that softball field with the fence is the only softball field with a home run fence other than the school's proper game fields that are hard to access. So it's just, we have to make a decision. It's just something to think about. I think he said they would come to us, and Matt Story, that's the guy's name. They would come talk to us about what they're thinking. But I don't know if we maybe would want to see that perhaps become a dual purpose field versus just get fixed up as a baseball field.
Really makes sense when you
mean,
think about it. If there's the demand or the need.
The thing is, it would let you leverage a bunch of CPA funds because it's
Yeah.
a new field. And I don't,
I remember way back we talked about or maybe Upton did it, but they had portable mound. It was great. To move it back if you needed to, or whatever. It
yeah.
was really great to have. So I know we experienced that, and it was a nice setup.
I mean, they were nervous about the irrigation, but there's 1 zone in the infield. So you just cap the 1 zone and move on. But anyway, so it's just a thought.
So as you may or may not know this, John, but the beauty of it is typically they're really willing to put in the money, and then they'll do a lot of the work, whether it be softball, soccer, whatever group, and then they may ask us for some support, which we usually typically very happy to do. So there's usually this discussion around, whatever it might be for maintenance. Yeah, I don't know what the fields look like. Honestly, I haven't seen them, but you get the groups. It depends on who's on the committee. Tends to be as how last year the fields were really crappy, right? They got really, really bad, overgrown infields and all that. Then you get another group of parents, and it's really well maintained. So.
Yeah, and actually to build, I know you and I had a conversation last summer about fields and scheduling and stuff. We did meet with both baseball and softball back in the early, February, March time. I'm optimistic that we're in a better place and everybody's on the same page about coordinating and scheduling, and they do have 2 tournaments.
Yeah, so what they'll do, just to further that along, is they'll come to us and they'll say, we're going to do this amount of work, and then we'll look at waiving the fees that we charge them, because typically they're doing, so much more than what they would actually pay. It's like per player or whatever we decide to do. But and then they'll try and negotiate. And sometimes softball and baseball have a little bit of a different view on how they want to do things. So we try to get them in the room together if possible. And we typically do it like January, February, early.
We had some, I don't know, it's a little better. We had some communication breakdowns that they just kind of stopped responding to anything, and then, got upset that the fields weren't mowed when they didn't even have a permit. And I think hopefully we've gotten a little past that. I mean, the thing that makes me crazy is we'll do whatever, just tell me up front. Don't, if there's a tournament, if there's a game, let us know, we'll try and get it mowed. And some years it's better than others, but hopefully I'm moving in the right direction.
Sometimes Dan has to chase them for payment,
Yeah, well, I did switch field use into Viewpoint, because it seemed to just be simpler, and it's more of a process that the payment step is right there. So I'm hoping that will make things a little easier to track. That was another problem with Rec 1, is the facility use thing was not good.
Yeah, the other thing that comes to mind is if they do a big project, it's not that they're not going to be paying fees for the next 20 years. We limit that. So we say, okay, this is good for a couple of years, but it's not indefinite, because it's just part of the whole way it's been for years and years and years, right?
Yeah, well, I think it's worked out, because I think it's given them credit for the work that they're doing. It's given us the data to go to FinCom and, when they say, listen, we could take $1,500 in field use fees, but instead we got a $20,000 batting cage.
Yeah, right.
And we've got that all documented now, or, they're going to donate, I forget the number, $10,000-$20,000 towards this lighting project.
Right.
That's huge.
Yeah, it is huge. Yeah.
So I don't know. So that's that. I don't know if we want to change talk about staffing a little bit, but there's so a couple specific projects. The beach project, the Eagle project, they're done. The only thing we have to do left is set the bike racks. They just did the footings. But they did the painting, the landscaping, so that came out beautiful. That was an Eagle Scout. Allison Reese, I think a Mendon Scout. So that was great. And then we've got another scout who's building Gaga ball pits, I think.
Yeah.
In 2 weeks.
I saw, you know what those are? I saw them for the first time when we went camping at that KOA in Woodstock. We're like, what the heck's Gaga ball? Because we talked about it for a year or so.
I've never done
Looks pretty simple.
Did you try it? Or?
Just an octagon, but they can have the ball. I think they put everything out after, but it's just an
Where are they
octagon.
building those?
They're gonna go on top of the volleyball courts that kind of didn't work out over by softball.
It's like dodgeball.
Yeah,
but it's a
Over by
version of
softball.
Yeah.
In that spot. Basically, it's like a handball kind of a thing, but it's restricted. Like it's not like dodgeball where you can like throw it violently. Everything. I think you can only hit people under the waist or something, or you're supposed to hit underhand the ball. I really don't know how to play.
What I read, because they had the whole, which is a nice idea if we get it, it literally tells you how to play the game on the fencing. So
That's a good idea. I should ask him to write that, and then we'll have a sign made.
Yeah, because unless they have the balls, they can't really play, but I guess they could get the balls from.
Well, so I did this. I'd be willing to try it at the beach. I bought these things that screw to the post that hold the basketballs. They're $20. I would put one there and leave a ball there. We'll see if it lasts or if it gets tossed and gets vandalized. But I'd like to give people the benefit of the doubt, and certainly camp will have what they need.
Yeah.
So that's a thought. Yeah, I'll have him do that. If he could like write up a sign for us, and then we'll have Karen print it. That actually would be good for his project. But yeah, so that's going. I did have a quick question about the pickleball. I met with those people the other week. Actually, I'm glad I did. It was helpful to get some information.
Another one I know nothing about, pickleball.
Neither do I. It's some sort of a hybrid between tennis, table tennis, and badminton. But I think, again, it's like lower impact than tennis is.
Get a lot of
And
like,
smaller
I think older
court.
folks like doing it because it's not as rough on the body. I think younger people do it too, but I don't know many younger people. The only downside I've heard of pickleball is it's very loud. So it could be one of those where the neighbors.
You know what though? Somebody was playing it the other week and it's not that bad.
Not bad.
And I think maybe it's because this isn't a full concrete surface.
Yeah.
It didn't strike me. I mean, it wasn't any worse than the basketball kids up there yelling and screaming and that stupid bell thing at the playground.
I know exactly
ding,
what you're
ding.
talking about.
Who in their right mind did that?
I don't know, my kids love it.
So the initial thought, I just want to put up the map. We were gonna do pickleball. Actually, let me do this. It'd be easier to draw and paint. So basically, you can't use CPA for maintenance, but if we add pickleball lines to the court, that's now like a new thing. So it lets us access CPA funds to basically repaint the tennis courts, which needs to happen. So we have that money. It's just taken forever to coordinate with the contractor. So initially the plan was going to be to just do 2 pickleball courts, basically right on top of the tennis courts with different lines. I think there's a special strap we got to install to pull the net down. So that was the plan.
And that's it, right? That's all.
But
That's
when I talked to them, apparently in Upton, they did something different. I think they had like 3 courts, like 2 and then a third one going this way and one on the basketball court.
Oh, yeah. I can go look at it if you want.
So she sent me some pictures.
Oh, you saw them?
Unfortunately, I think we're going to probably run into some conflicts. It's a very vocal group of people that are very active. So I talked to the person in Upton. They have to designate pickleball times.
Yeah.
Because there's a third party app that they use, which is kind of cool. It like facilitates games.
Why?
Because they take over every minute of every day of the courts and they use it. So
people won't be able to play tennis.
Right.
tennis,
So
basketball.
we have 2 tennis courts right there. Why don't we try and put 2 pickleball courts on one and leave one the tennis court?
We could do that. I was going to leave the existing nets in place so they're dual purpose. When I talked to her, she seemed, they said, you basically say, give us a block of times, and then they're going to use this app to schedule their games. They may come back to us and want to do more and potentially build a shed to have equipment. I just don't know if, maybe in the short term, we just want to set up the 2 courts on top of the existing tennis courts.
So that's all been approved. Do you have any idea when it's gonna happen?
So we have the money. I've spoken a couple times with the contractor about trying to get us on the schedule. It sounds like he can't. The earliest is going to be mid-July. The problem is he wants to do it all, including the basketball court, in one job. He doesn't want to come back. So we need to wait for basketball to be over. Now, if they could come and do it and leave in a week, I think they might be willing to go to Clough for the week for basketball, depending on the timing. I'm still trying to get a solid date on this
The
company.
basketball court resurface.
But that would be the ideal, is to repaint everything. That's all we need to do. Also, I'd like to buy some portable nets that we could have available at Clough and maybe remember that basketball league years ago? So we could just book the gym at Clough on Tuesday nights.
Yeah.
And say Tuesday nights are pickleball night.
Yeah.
Have at it.
Yeah.
In the winter. Unfortunately, the Clough court needs far more work than
There's a big hole in it.
it needs
In one area,
repairs.
a sinkhole.
Somebody else reached out to me though about a futsal court, which I had no idea what the heck futsal is. I guess they have one in Oxbridge. It's like an outdoor.
With sand.
No, it's on a hard surface. It's like a combination of like indoor soccer, but on an outdoor court. So maybe that's something to do at Clough. And,
It's on a court.
yeah, to go back to CPA to say, hey, here's a different idea. In the short term, I haven't had time to reach out. Now that Brian just started, I was going to see. There's somebody from Uxbridge that has a robot to paint field lines. So I was going to find out if he could come do temporary pickleball lines on this court, because I don't.
Right,
really
let
want
me
to spray
check.
paint it.
I have him, Danielle's uncle does all the synthetic football fields. I think I don't know if he's still doing
Yeah.
it, but let me check and see what.
Well, they were going to
exactly help us
spray
out.
paint lines, but I don't. If I do it, it'll look like crap, and I'm not good at that. But he did. I met him by chance at Grover. You like program it in the robot, and it does its thing. So at least then he could do it, and then we could cover it over, and it would be proper. And then when this company comes, at least I'll have something to use in the meantime. And then when he can finally get us on the schedule to really properly redo the court,
Yeah.
then we'll have the actual lines. So that's that, and then. Oh, actually, I put on the agenda. So we got facility use applications for summer basketball, and then I also got the Anthony Leonelli's adult league the other day.
Still doing it, huh?
Yeah. Well, I don't know how much he's involved in the day to day. I think it's I can't think of the kid that used to work for us.
Oh, really? It's running it
Does
for him?
it? Oh, what was his name? He was in the maintenance crew.
Schlosky?
No.
Yeah, right. Shalansky sounds like.
Anyway,
I think he played 1 year too.
so I guess we probably should vote on those 2 things. Dave's is the normal Monday through Thursday. Anthony's on Sundays.
No Friday, huh?
They never do Fridays.
Well, remember they used to do it with the girls varsity?
Oh yeah, that happened 1 year, and then somebody from Misco 1 year did Fridays.
Oh,
I mean, that was the thing with the senior. Chris, Next Step Sports would book a whole week too.
yeah.
we
So
had
if
more
you
courts.
didn't catch that earlier, these guys who run this league, Dave and Dave, are offered us like 3,000 to 5,000 help resurface support, and they'll typically help with like a backboard if it breaks or whatever. So they've been doing this for how many years? So it's a junior varsity league. They have a boys league and a girls league, and from towns all around. So it's been really important, for the program. But so yeah, you want a motion?
Yeah, just
accept
to
their
approve
request.
the summer
Yeah,
basketball and 508 athletics basketball use.
Anthony's been doing it for years too. Men's league and Sunday nights, Sundays, right?
I'll motion to somebody second, and then
Second.
What's the motion?
sorry, I'll motion to approve Mendon summer basketball and 508 athletics basketball league use.
Second.
All in favor?
It's basically the leagues we were bringing to the commission, the like one-off use of the pavilion and things like that. I was just approving. That's kind of how we've done it. And anything like certain, big requests come to the commission.
Yeah.
Or if there's a
Yeah.
conflict, the commission resolves, like if it's a scheduling issue.
Right.
We seem to be in a good spot. All right, so then the other, we got to talk about the beach event, and then we probably might want to talk about maintenance and staffing a little bit.
Definitely.
I will say, you know, in terms of overall, we're in great shape for the summer. We're getting employee paperwork. I'm about to figure out the clothing order. I'll reach out if you guys want clothing,
Yeah, get parks.
shirts and whatever. I gotta put that together. Get that out
How
there.
about the beach director? Is that just deciding not to go with it?
We never got
here, which I think kind of worked out nice. And then
Yeah, well,
one of our, sorry to interrupt you. One thing that's a kind of a nice dilemma is that a lot of our employees are college bound or in college. So we get a handful of employees that are going out for their masters. There's one young lady ran it for a year, and then she's going to her master's, and they said, I'm doing internships or whatever. So we get a lot of that. But we know if we get a freshman in college, we probably have 3 years with them, and that's it. So you get, we tend to try to really get the high school kids. So how many employees do we have at
64. We're
64? So
It's ridiculous.
I mean, it's really something, you know, what, it's such a service we provide the town, but, so
Yeah.
no beach director. this year.
No beach director, which is fine. I think we'll have to, again, I mean, ultimately that would be something to do and someone that could focus on programming. I've had a few conversations with Tara, the children's librarian, about different ideas, and because she's only, I think, 30 hours to say like, well, we could pay you extra hours to run some programming and work with us.
Beach director's out of the general fund, right? It's not. revolving.
We got $4,500 additional on the town side, and then we were splitting it. So like we pay a little bit of revolving money to pay for an extra lifeguard for the camp, because there's so many kids. So there's some back and forth, and to be quite, we probably could just get it all to revolving fund and call it a day and make everybody's life simpler, but I'm leaving alone unless somebody from the top wants to present that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, personally, I think these programs should all be self-funding as much, it's the town maybe should help out on facility things. They can pay the electric bill. They can pay the tight tank pumping. I think very long-term, if we could cover all our staffing, that would probably be the way to do it. But for the most part, I think we're in good shape. I got to post all of our programming. I've got to get some lessons up there. Brian finally started this week, so now that he can take over the mowing, I can get the rest of this stuff done.
So how many other maintenance staff you have coming on?
So the deal right now, Brian started, the one kid that we hired, Sam Aubit. He's, I believe, a senior. I sent him a text and he didn't answer me. I'm wondering if they may have gone on vacation. The other 3 kids are all in high school, so they can't start till mid-June. So
that supports the idea of the DPW setup, because we can't even get these kids to start working for us when we really need them, because they're not done, till what, June 14th?
Yeah, well, and the weather seems to be moving in this direction.
Yeah.
Right? It's pouring rain,
Right.
and it's super hot. And the
Everything
grass,
grows like crazy.
like somebody was complaining about Grant Field. I mowed it last week. Even fully staffed, we're not mowing more than once a week.
Yeah.
So I think
mower. I'll jump on the mower
Yeah.
and cut grass.
Yeah.
There's a couple different ideas, but I think, a maintenance position is one, contracting everything out is another. And then the third, which is potentially staging equipment and kind of restructuring. But I really think just getting a dedicated person to take over the landscape crew, as we discussed, whoever they work for, figure all that out, and then you get 1 or
It
2
only makes sense.
real seasonal
I'm
people.
not saying this because I want more staff.
Right.
It makes sense to have them out of highway. You have access to all the equipment down there. So say you do have a big project where you need a backhoe,
Right.
you need a loader, you have that person that has the license. They can then operate it, and I'm not pulling a person off of highway to help unless you need it.
Right. Well, I mean,
But
I'm
it's just
talking to
efficiencies.
just
Yeah.
having the ability to go grab like one of those dump trucks and go get a load of mulch.
Yeah.
Well, is that
Simple as
something that we might, again, be proactive and kind of look at doing sooner than later, instead of waiting for the restructuring to happen?
I think
They're not going to do anything until they figure out what they're doing for restructuring.
Yeah.
I think we should bring it up again in November, fully anticipating that they'll probably put us off. But I think we need to go to them and say, listen, once again, this is still an issue. Here's some options. and let them tell us no. Like you said, the impression I get is until there's a new administrator in place and, they seem to want to do another study, which is not a bad thing. They're not going to want to commit to anything. Which is fine. And then this is what you get. This is what we paid for. We're going to do what we can with what we've been given, and people are going to complain when things don't get mowed in a timely manner.
Do you think there's enough staff to keep up with the way it's been? Because
Nope.
you can see, even I went by, I'm not sure what it's called, but by the old Danny's Variety, that island right there. And so we were there Monday, the grass had been mowed, and it looks like it needs to be mowed today already.
Oh, yeah.
3 days later, 2 days later. And so, but do you have enough staff to keep up with that kind of pace?
We have the staff that we've always had. Brian, in one day, Brian knocked out like 4 properties and made a huge dent in things. And I went and did 2 more after he left for the day. So there'll be a catch-up period. But I think, because the other problem we have staff that fits the crew. We have basically 3 mowers, where it seems like 3 or 4 is all you really need, because otherwise you end up with a bunch of kids standing around doing nothing as soon as it hits August and everything slows down.
Yeah.
3 to 4 seems to be the ideal number. The big mower, the standard mower, and a push mower, and then 3 guys go out with trimmers and do the backup.
How many maintenance staff you have?
So
You have Brian right now, but when you have all your guys in after high school's out,
the
how
plan,
many are you gonna have?
I want to find the sheet. The plan, I believe, that we voted on is that we have Brian, Paige, and Sam Obbett. So that's 3. They were going to work 5 days a week. And then we hired Gavin and Jonathan, and they were each going to work 3 to 4 days a week. So every day you'd have 4 people on, plus and work out with vacations. We've had as many as 6. In my opinion, it's too many.
You don't have a vehicle to drive them all around.
Yeah, we've had 6, we've had 5. These kids are not, you hire these kids and tell them they're going to work 2 days a week. They're not interested in that. So I think with the staff we have, once they're all working, we're fine.
It's interesting because we went through a phase where the kids didn't want to work full time. Right? Remember that? Where you get kids, I had a nephew that worked for us, but he didn't want to work 40 hours a week. You know what I mean? So now we're back to, and then you try to plan on, how do you plan on what the weather's going to be like? We had that drought year. They had nothing to do.
Right.
There was no work.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough to plan.
The bigger issue, I think, and I don't want to diminish the people. The people we have are amazing, is having somebody with a little more experience to be able to, Brian has learned a lot and really, done things and whatever, but to be able to identify project work and plan out, and that's where I think you'd benefit from having at least one full-time position with what, like what Vicky used to do, or somebody like that. That's where I think we run into trouble.
So I guess my question is, as a commissioner now, am I able to go around and talk with these guys and say, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that? What about these projects?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about too, to understand, how much, how hands-on do you want to be? It would be a good idea, I think, maybe to sit down with Brian and just say, hey, this is John, this is who he is. He's going to be able to support you a lot more because he's literally out here all the time.
Well, I think what just to reinforce that, I agree with that with you and Brian, because in your position, you're going to hear a lot more than, I don't hear anything from anybody, right. But they're going to be contacting him a lot. And so the scrutiny for you, I think, is going to be much higher, 1,000 times higher than it is for me.
I have no problem until we figure out this full-time maintenance person being the guy that is going back and forth between highway and parks when the maintenance staff is out there and making sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing and making sure they have what they need to do.
I think that's great.
The job.
I think it's great.
Yeah, so we should, I give him a list of some project ideas. There's some, I guess, again, the only thing I ask is just keep me in the loop. Like, there's certain things.
So that's my question.
Yeah.
You're the parks director and we're commissioners. Can I, as a commissioner, be like, okay, he's going to come to me. Am I going to say, okay, this is what we want you to do today? Or is that still you? How is this?
Right.
That's the dynamic that needs to be figured out.
Like, I'm almost of the mind, I don't want to accidentally give the kid conflicting direction. like there's certain things that they do that are done, like they mow the park on Wednesdays because it lines up with field trips. I
You
think
might,
in
you might
terms of,
want to take advantage of if he's offering,
no, I'm just thinking how to
You
do
get
it. I'm not
so
saying don't
good.
do it. I'm just
Yeah.
thinking how to structure it so he's not confused,
Because how many kids do we have at the camp?
or maybe it's better that
Yeah.
I give you that information and
Yeah,
you be
Yeah,
the one to convey
yeah,
it.
and I have no problem doing that.
Yeah,
And maybe that's
mean,
the
that's
better way
kind
to
of-
do it.
so-
He should have one boss, if you will.
yeah, I think that's a great idea.
I'm happy
To be
to,
honest with you.
I'm happy to continue as the person, I like working on the equipment. I can deal with that side of it. But I think in terms of kind of coordinating the day to day and understanding, at this point, I think he's pretty good about making a schedule for the normal stuff. It would be helpful sometimes for somebody to kind of say like, hey,
You get some downtime, let's go take care of this.
well, that, and then
That's
stuff
what
like
we need.
the thing that doesn't get done, like when you mow a property, you need to kind of like take a small bite around the perimeter and push back. Otherwise you lose it all. And next thing you
Yeah.
know, there's 6 feet of brush in front of the stone wall.
Yeah,
Like what they were saying last night at the brothers meeting.
yeah.
Every one of the cemeteries has all that brush on the back. That is a huge project.
So the other thing, the other dilemma, which we have to be thinking forward is, this is Brian's last year, right?
Well, that's honestly, not only is it Brian's last year, if Brian suddenly left halfway through because he got a job offer,
Yeah.
great for him. I wouldn't be shocked. So we need to, and the only one who
So
could legally
that
drive the truck
is really good.
is
Right.
Sam Ovitt. So we need to really think about that. And Brian will be good about, but it's like, train them how to use the stander. Which he's been good about, and get them comfortable so that they could take over
Is he
basically.
working today?
He is, I don't know where. We'll, here. So we have, I guess I'll say to the meeting, hopefully, we have a GPS tracker in the truck, which they don't know about because I just didn't tell them, and now it's been years and we're in too deep. So it's good to just know, like, hey, this is where you are.
That's good for safety reasons,
So,
in case something goes.
but just to know, like, I want to look at getting a dash cam at some point. Not that we've ever had an issue, but speaking of that, we had some blocks. So I put some blocks in the front of the garage. So when you drive the truck forward, it hits the blocks and it stops. So we won't push the truck against the front of the building and knock the license plate off. Because
Locked in front of what building?
inside Morrison, I put some cinder blocks as a stop for the truck. Because what happened is they were driving the truck all the way forward and it was pressing that plate is like a thing that clamps on the front. And that's why the plate fell off the truck. He's at where is he?
It's Wednesday, should be at the park.
This
That's
thing
what
is
you just
weird.
said, right?
Yeah.
Wednesdays is the park.
Oh, he's at the park. Okay, sorry. This thing is not great. So yesterday, what did he text me? Yes, actually, if he's over there, we could, it'd be good to go look at, I do have some other stuff I gotta do today, but if you had time, we could go look at Morrison and maybe have a conversation with Brian, because I want to talk to him about town hall. So actually maybe with you too, we can go over some of the issues with town hall and with something else. Where's his text to me? Yeah, he did the library, Grover, and the islands. I met Captain Davenport. Because I sent him a list of some things that were kind of a priority. And then I did King Philip and I did part of Pine Hill.
You have a list of
Yes.
everything that needs to be taken care of,
Yeah.
like all the properties that your guys are maintaining,
Yes.
so that can you send it to me?
I can send that to you. I'll send that to you and then I'll send you a list of things that I've been thinking about for projects. And then maybe that stuff, if I talk with you and you be the person that talks to him. And then maybe, if there's equipment problems, you can follow up with me. And then beyond that, that might be the way to do it. And then if you're able to kind of drive, because I think that's where we fall short, is having somebody to go around and check up on them and make sure things are getting done and, things aren't getting missed. I was pretty impressed with those candidates we hired. I'm optimistic that we have a decent crew this year.
Yeah.
I know, well, some years it's been better than others.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's been tough.
put it that way.
Been tough.
And then long term, I don't know, what, it probably, I probably should go out and get pricing again and try and price it out, because I think people upstairs seem to want that. Even if it's not viable, at least then we can say, here's what that would cost and here's why that's bad. I'd be interested in seeing it broken out individually. We got, the one quote right here, there was $270,000
Ridiculous.
To
money.
do,
to outsource everything.
It's a landscape, all the maintenance for us. Big money.
I mean, if again, if you could get rid of some of the cemeteries and the remote properties, you could put a mower at Grover, a mower at the park, a mower somewhere here. I mean, like maybe an abatement worker. There's different ideas, but I don't think this should be done by volunteers.
I'm thinking you have somebody take care of the ball fields. You pay to have somebody take care of the ball fields, and you can focus more time on all these properties that have been neglected. Like you just said, the cemeteries are all growing in. There's stuff that needs to be done at these.
Well, that's a thought. I wonder if it'd be cheaper to hire somebody to just mow the ball field, because you just show up, mow, and go home. It's big and flat, other than some trimming.
You mow it, you trim it, and you tell them you want it bagged.
Yeah, that's true. And that's the thing that we don't do a lot of, because it's a pain and things sucks. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, some of them, Grover Field would be ideal to get one of those robot things, but I think you'd need two of them. So that.
So a big priority is the opening day, and I'm
And then,
wondering if we're behind the 8 ball. I know you got a band scheduled, but the reason that we're not doing it the day the beach opens is because we won't be around.
But I won't be around on the 15th.
Because you're around on the way to 20.
Well, the band the band will just do a nighttime too. That was just
The 15th was opening, what you were talking about last night for being the opening.
So the camp starts the 24th. The week before school gets out, we'll have our orientation. The thought, I'm actually not available on the 22nd, 23rd now anymore. But so the thought was to do this event, and it doesn't have to be a big event. We had talked, maybe we just show up, say some words and call it a day. That, if it's nice out, people are going to want to swim.
You want to publicize it.
Oh no, for sure. But I'm saying, whether you do a whole day. I mean, the thought was open the beach, have some lifeguards.
For the hamburgers and hot dogs, and do your talk, and let's have the band, and the rest of the day is as it is.
So we all around we don't necessarily have to do it before it opens, because what would happen is the beach, we would have the opening and then we'd be closed for another.
Well, I was kind of thinking the beach would just be starting on the 15th. The beach will be open.
We got the workers, got the help.
We should. We have. I mean, school gets out on the 17th. We should be able to find lifeguards for the 15th. We might not be able to open on the 16th, but it's Father's Day anyway.
Yeah.
And
the
then,
only thinking is
have
something like
lifeguards this year.
I believe we're in good shape.
Yeah.
We had a few come in at the last minute.
Returning, or they will do.
A mix. About 50-50.
So is there a senior lifeguard that kind of directs the rest of them on how things are supposed to go?
Yeah, looking at them.
Yeah, I was going to say
But again,
That's what I do.
I'm just saying, you have somebody that's been coming back, right? You have somebody that's been doing this for 3 years, 4
I'm
years.
looking at the list to see where we're at. Hang on. Is this the right document?
Yeah, the director we had that one year was not actually a lifeguard, but just managed the whole.
Well, no, she was a lifeguard.
Oh, she was?
The thing that was challenging is she was brand new. So I have some people coming back. The challenge you run into is they want to work 40 hours, but you can't really necessarily have a lifeguard working 40 hours because that's, they're working 8-hour days. You can't do that.
What I'm getting at is.
So they end up working multiple jobs.
I was at Lake Quinsigamon, and I was the park supervisor.
Right.
But there was a head lifeguard that dealt with the scheduling and made sure that all the staffing was met for the times that beach was supposed to be open. And that person would then report to you.
Right. So that was the idea of this beach director that we've gone back and forth. And
I'm not even talking director. I'm just talking to handle the lifeguards.
So I do not think any of our employees are ready to take on that responsibility at this point, because the ones that I think potentially could do it are the ones who are working multiple jobs and are somewhat effectively part-time. But I don't think it's a problem. I think the beach has been fine. We do need,
And I'm just talking
Level
about
set.
freeing you up.
right, but I think for this year,
You're probably freeing them up a lot.
we've
with the
committed,
maintenance. If you're doing that.
you know, I think, for next year, we can think about expanding how we do things, but at this point, I'm hesitant to change too many things this late in the game.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
let's,
but I think,
our priority is absolutely the grand reopening. Because 15th is only 2 weeks away.
right, so on my plan, now that Brian started, now I have the time to do what I need to do to get everything else ready to open. I've already, there's not a whole lot to do. It's just some cleanup,
You should advertise.
paperwork.
Maybe.
I'm gonna I'll make all the events on Facebook for all our
What did
events.
the
and get the
brothers
word out.
decide last night? They would do the burgers and hot dogs or what?
It sounds like they have people willing to step up. So
I
that,
thought so, yeah.
my concern
You
is
just try to get it advertised on their Facebook
Yeah.
page.
if you do this event, the band's gonna come. If we get 30 people, we're fine. What I can't, remember that first family day we did where we dedicated the courts? My staff can't cook 100 burgers to order when a line out the door, so we could pre-cook a bunch of hot dogs.
Yeah.
I could say, we're gonna pre-cook 30 burgers and 50 hot dogs and hand them out. That's probably what we could handle if, and maybe we don't need to bother and have the brothers do a whole rigmarole. Cause I don't want them to haul that stuff down there and do all that work to serve 20 burgers either. I don't think this is gonna be a huge event with 1,000 people at all. So maybe we don't need to do that. We just plan ahead, or maybe we just get some baked goods or pizzas
Pizzas.
That's what I would think.
and say that,
Skip the
You-
burger
Can
and hot
you,
dogs.
again, so again, I'm new to this. Can you use the revolving account to pay for pizzas?
yeah, we can buy all that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what's it? So you spend
A couple $100.
Good
not
order.
even.
Yeah.
So we just.
Order
we
pizzas,
just-
we'll sell the,
We just did, get 3 huge sheet pizzas. Way bigger than you get at Deluxe or Hideaway from Big Y in Milford, and it was $80.
will they deliver?
No, we just send someone to pick it up. In Milford, it's not like it's an hour
Yeah, I could
away.
go pick it up.
Cause that's,
If you wanna go that way.
same deal. That's the problem. So the snack shack, we've got a
Go
mix of
right away
people.
if you want, You know,
Well, one of them, yeah, would just deliver there.
there's that pizzas and waters.
Well, we would,
Maybe
we'll
coffee.
sell ice cream, sell all the stuff we
I'll have
normally
the stuff
sell.
open, yeah.
Yeah, have your snack shack open, but then
Yeah.
offer the pizza.
We'll do a limit. I would do a limited menu. So we won't do fried food. We'll just do fried dough. We
Yeah.
won't, so we don't drown ourselves.
Yeah.
The
I
food
mean,
is
you can do
pizza, chips.
burgers, but if you want, it's
Well-
the pizza, well, you pay for the burgers if you want a burger, but the
Oh.
pizza's free.
I get you.
We'll probably go for the pizza.
Yeah.
That might be
More than likely,
the
yeah.
simpler thing to do and get an idea who's going to attend. I mean, I think, assuming if we, either we just do that and open up that day and do some swimming. Honestly, if we're not going to open the beach the following week, we're going to be pretty limited in the food because I'm not going to want to have a bunch of stuff sitting for a week.
Yeah,
So I would just do ice cream, pizza, drinks, and
I
fried
thought
dough.
You just said we were gonna open the beach that following week.
Well, it depends. On Saturday, I'm gonna send out the scheduling app and get it and confirm everyone's availability. Nipmuc's last day is the 17th. So of our lifeguards, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 of them who are out of school. So there's theoretically people to work. We'll find out exactly who's available. I mean,
that could be a big graduation party weekend too. Probably need to know that, and
so I'll
then-
find that out in the next couple days and we'll
Yeah.
know. But either way, then we just do the ceremony. The band does a concert. That'll be like an hour. You could have swimming just during that event and stay till like 5 or 6 o'clock, and that's it.
So we gotta figure out what the ceremony is. We're gonna do like a ribbon cutting, like on the entrance.
Yeah,
Just
well,
grand
it'll have to be open because they're gonna have to get in and set up and do all
So,
that. So
yeah,
we can
so,
do something. We probably should make up something for Sean. I get it. Sean, Unilock, whoever else you want to invite.
So the board.
Yeah.
I think we should make a special invite for Tom too, Bellin. Cause he was such a big part of this project, so
I was kind of hoping he'd be the one to show up and say some stuff because he's good at that.
he probably will if we ask him to.
He's well spoken on those kind of things. He knows how to say what needs to be said.
Yeah, I will tell you that I do plan on talking to the select board about guys like Tom who put 9 years of their time into and it's done. No, nothing. No, thank you. No, nothing.
Yeah.
So I feel like, even for us to just, it must feel weird to him, but it's done. And one of the reasons he didn't come back is his wife didn't want him coming
I
back.
talked to him last night.
Yeah, so I'd like to somehow, recognize that. And I think the select board should do it globally is when someone's done with, they can pick a bunch of years, but because I know with the state, when you leave the state, you don't have it's not a ceremony, you just get something from the state. It feels pretty good. Give you a little certificate or thank you or whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I really would like to, and that's a good opportunity to do that. They won't be there, right? So.
But we could recognize him another time too.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're leaving for the Cape that day.
Wait till?
We're leaving for the Cape.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
I mean, alternately, if we don't, if we want to hold off on this, let me just find the list of concerts. We could do it. Hang on.
Yeah, I think we should hold off. I think
Maybe
it's going to come off as really like mediocre, and I think it's such a big deal. I'd rather have some time to plan. Really do a nice
let me
and
just find
maybe
the
a
dates.
concert, but sooner than later.
Why do these things never come up? So I forget what it was. We set a rain date for this event, the concert. The band can come a different day. And I'm not seeing it in any of my things, so I'll have to figure out what that date was. We do have a list of which I got to get out there. So the boat race is on the 9th. You got a children's concert on the 6th, a couple events. We don't really have the big Cable 8 concerts until like July 31st. I don't know if we want to wait that long.
Nah, that's too late.
Or if we want to pick a day, I mean, we'll probably open the 24th.
What about the week after?
I don't know if we want to risk doing it the week of July 4th. I wouldn't do it the weekend after July 4th. So the 29th is 29th, 30th. If we did it then. We could probably say something the night of the boat race, but we probably wouldn't be able to take up much more than about 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's probably not the best night.
And I know, like I
It's a
said,
big event.
they can be a little, so I don't know what makes sense to do. Do we just pick some night that we're already open?
I like the idea of night. Then we're not really providing much. We don't have to. We had, some snacks, but.
Well, if you did it at night, you do it at 5 or 6 o'clock and say
Yeah.
we're going to do the ceremony and then hang out and maybe we'll stay open an hour later.
Yeah.
And then you can just come and really just have the dignitaries come.
Because I do think it's worth inviting the select board.
Because we
And
got to
they're going to be a little bit offended. I think it would say, hey, it's 2 weeks away.
Yeah.
Because some will want to be there, if not all.
They all should be.
They all should be. Exactly. So I think we need to give them more time too. I think July 3rd is the 30th. Would that be or the 31st? Would that be too
June or July?
June, excuse me. Would that be a lot of people going away? That doesn't really matter, right?
I think the 29th, 30th is better. I think the 6th, 7th people, I feel like they would go away that weekend more likely.
Is a Sunday out of the question?
Yeah, let me see if I can find his email when I said that was. Might be in this one. The board is July 29th was the rain date.
Oh, so
for the band.
Why don't we just do that? Why don't we just move it? I think it's too close. 15.
I mean, that would give us a whole lot more time.
Yeah.
To do it that night.
We're looking at a month, even with the 29th, we're looking at a month.
Then we're open. Then we know we have staff. People are trained. I'd feel much better about them being able to serve food and not overwhelm us. You could just have a band concert and we'll just do a ceremony before it.
Yeah, because we're back.
Does that work for everybody then, the 29th?
Of June.
of July.
No, July or June?
Oh, okay, which day was, so I had,
I
the
was thinking June.
so, okay, we can do June 20th, the bands can't come. But that's fine. If we did June 29th, that's a Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would do that.
Yeah, June 20th.
So when would you do it then? During the day?
Like we just talked
At
about.
11 a.m. still?
11 to 1 or
I
whatever.
mean, then we'll be open. We'll be normal.
Yeah,
within a
I think
week.
that's perfect.
So
I
we'll
feel like
push
if you
it.
wait till July
It's
29th,
too far.
you're already, like, you're supposed to be doing a grand reopening and you're halfway through the beach
Yeah.
season.
That's true.
I think that's perfect, really.
June 29th.
Yep.
And then we should, I don't know what Tom's availability is. We should probably, we could do something separate too.
You said 11 to 1?
Well, now the beach would be official, I mean, open for business. Do we even do anything? Do we just do like 11 or 12 as the actual ceremony and then it's just open? Because what are we gonna do for 2 hours?
That's what I would do, is do a presentation, whatever we gotta do, and then,
Yeah.
rent a moon, do something a little extra.
Yeah, that's about it, right? So we don't really need to have a time. It's at 11, because the beach normally opens at noon time on a Saturday.
Noon, yeah.
So we just open an hour early for the grand reopening and, or we do it at the time we normally open.
We were doing, 11 to 7.
Oh, so
That's
that's
what
what
we're
we
doing
It
every
was
day.
11 and
So just do it right.
we don't really have it doesn't have to be until whenever, it's just at 11 o'clock.
No, yeah, do a ceremony and then the beach will be
And
open.
it's
That's
officially
a
open.
special blow.
Yep.
Um,
That's good. That sounds good. I'll let Tom know, okay?
Okay,
Then we have time, whoever needs to be invited. Like board.
well, I'll make an event and then I can send something out to,
Yeah,
because we get
Yeah.
the guy from Unilock.
Sean mentioned yesterday he was planning on going on the 15th, so we'll let him know right away.
Here, let me, better make sure he's,
You kind of assume he'll invite his crew, so we'll let it be. I think a small handful of people.
send a text to make sure. I mean, that might give us at least.
If we do that,
Stuff
then we
together.
can let the brothers know we're not, because we were gonna follow up with them about that.
Yeah, I think we're good then.
Pizza.
We don't need them.
I think not. I don't want to burn them out. I think I don't think this is an event that would, yeah, it's at the end by the town clerk. I think that's enough that we don't want
Okay. The other thing is we gotta talk about family
to.
days, so I can, it's not, I didn't think we met in July, but we do. So I'm not as concerned
Yeah.
about that, but it's really people. Can we go back to the beach was the question. And if we do, I do believe that the group doesn't want to,
Right.
maybe pay for catering. But
Cover that.
again, everybody's a little bit nervous about money now that
Yeah.
we got that all squared away, but.
The thing we could do, I was thinking about this the other day. We would really want, if we could pre-order food. I can cook 45 burgers to order or to pre-order. What I can't have is a line of 40 people waiting for burgers to be cooked.
So let me tell you what I don't know if you saw this or I told you, but they want to pay. They don't want to say, hey, you bill us. They want normal rate. You're open like usual.
Just buy food.
People go buy their food. And all we're doing is providing, a location. We'll have music. We'll have the bouncy house.
I mean, I'd love to do that because I'm hesitant. If we could get away from closing the beach to the public,
Yeah.
I think that's a slippery slope. But are they thinking they're going to do alcohol or no?
Yeah.
So they would still want to get a 1-day license and
Yeah.
have.
Because you saw if you heard the state fee, It's this year they said BYOB. Everybody's like, yeah, that's
But-
fine.
Cannot do BYOB. It's illegal.
No,
They would have to.
no,
do it
and
by
they've
proper
all, no one has done, they've all been great about
Oh,
that.
no, I know. I just, we
So-
gotta be, so that's the downside to doing it at the town. You need
Yeah.
insurance, you need all that stuff. So if you did it, the only risk, we're talking about the family day, and it's the same risk every year. When we come to the end of the year, by the time we hit that last week,
Yeah,
we're hanging on by a thread with staff. I'll know by about mid-July, once I know when everybody goes back to college. But there is a very real risk that, we usually our last day is because I'm out of staff and everybody's worked 6 days in a row and nobody else can work and we're done.
yeah, so that's what
We all go back to
last
college,
meeting
they all
we
move
did
in.
it. So the last meeting, the brothers said, we just need to check and see if they would open the snack shack and people pay for their own food. The whole idea with that event was that the brothers didn't need to kick in any money or do anything. I think I can't tell you exactly what we spent last year, but I think our budget was around 2,000.
Yeah.
And I think we paid them right about 2,000. But maybe, levers might have been a little bit more than we need to do. As you saw last year, we had a lot of leftovers, which was kind of nice because people could take stuff home. But so that's the question. And so this year, every year is kind of the same. He's not going to buy a ton of food that he can't sell because then, I am kind of back to the fact.
Well, that's not if you do the family day, you'd be able to get a rough idea of who's coming. You could do a sign up. It's not, not critical, but just say, hey, if you're coming, bring your family, fill out the thing. So we have an idea if there's 50 people or 10 people coming. That gets us in the right direction. The only thing that I think potentially is rough is if you get, 4 families that all want to buy food, they're waiting 40 minutes for their food to get cooked. Because that's just how we're not a McDonald's.
So I
So
wonder if we do the same thing, though.
pre-cook
Maybe
some
like
stuff.
a nice kind of approach is we buy a bunch of pizzas that they don't have to pay for, or something like that. And then the people that really want cut something off a grill,
that would be a good
so we
idea
supplement, but we have that option.
to,
and then-
like a hybrid
Or maybe
approach.
it's not burgers and dogs, but it's
And again, we can pre-cook 30 hot dogs, pre-cook
Yeah.
30 burgers. So we've got some stuff. So maybe it's manageable
okay.
if we plan ahead and do it. If we could push it, would they do the 17th or do they want to do, because I'm at this point, the camp ends on the 23rd.
Talking August.
Yeah. The beach is probably going to be closed pretty much by the 24th, 25th.
Yeah, so in the past, obviously, we've done it when the beach was closed, per se. It was the day after they closed. And then Dan would prefer to keep it open to the general public, but we've kind of always been against that. We don't want just anybody coming in, because then it gets a little funky with the food, though.
The risk we run into, well, right, you have to figure that out. The risk we
And
run
we
into,
we
when you
generally
meet
have
with
gotten
other
the
groups.
approval to have beers.
right.
The town's not giving us any trouble with that. And we would have beers, and we're gonna give away beer to whoever shows
So
up.
you'd have to have a separate area, you'd have wristbands like that, so you
Yeah.
can do it as more of a, we're doing a big event. And the brothers and their families can all come. Honestly, by the end of August, it's a ghost town.
Yeah.
You're not getting 100, it's not like it is in July when we're packed and it's a heat wave.
Yeah, we had to send a few people back last year. I remember a guy showed up with.
So if those people could just show up and swim.
Sorry, it's a private event. And
Yeah,
well, we advertised, but
I just don't want too many, I just don't want to end up down a slippery slope where we suddenly have a bunch of other groups wanting to do private events at the beach and we told one group yes and somebody else no, and it gets complicated. Not, I don't know. I think it's kind of a weird situation with the brothers because it's not just a benefit to them. It's kind of like a recognition for all the donations and the work that they've done
yeah,
that other groups didn't,
yeah,
sponsorships, showing up, cleaning cemeteries, whatever.
yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, so I don't know. I think that's doable. I would do that.
Okay.
I think renting the, if they want to pay to rent the moonwalk, that was nice and simple. If she doesn't gone to college, I have a lifeguard who's a face painter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
stuff like that.
Okay.
It'd be good to get an idea of who's going.
Yeah, now that we have more of the specifics, I can.
When do we do it? Let me look.
We've always done it the day after the beach closes.
Yeah.
The day right after.
August. That's not even on my calendar.
So far, the last couple of years, we've had very nice weather, so it's been great.
Maybe it was the 27th. I think tentatively you're looking at the 25th. If we did it that Sunday, or if we do it this
As
Saturday.
we do the cornhole tournament. And then, you know, we usually
yeah.
try to do s'mores. So everybody seems to really enjoy it. Then the kids love, some of the kids love going to the water. Now we have I don't think the playground done last year?
No,
Yeah, so we got that this year, so it's a perfect location for sure, for the kids.
Yeah. I mean, it's all self-contained and
Yeah, that too.
I mean, that's all good.
Plenty of
There's still a little bit of work to do down there, but I think it's pretty much now with all the landscaping, that was a big help. I was going to ask you, at some point, we need some more crushed stone. But like, I was thinking if you had to just like dump some like right around the fence over here, and then I can grab it as I need it, like a yard or two. There's a few more spots I want to fill in the front of the building and like around this bulkhead. It's probably the kind of thing if we make a pile on
you're
it,
talking like the 3/4
like
stone.
3/4 crushed stone. You know, or if it's a slow day, we can have the lifeguards grab some buckets and do it. And then we need to figure out down in that outfall, the riprap. And I don't know if we're better off just talking to Clifton or somebody and just paying him to do it. We need to fill that whole channel with riprap almost up to the level of that stone to reinforce all that. They sunk us
right up there anyways, right? We'll take a look at it.
Yeah, they sunk a steel rod. I don't know if you've seen it up against the granite this time. So hopefully that will stay up. That was what's his name? Shay's idea. So maybe that'll now be picked that thing up like 3 times now. Cleaned up all that. What do we want to, more things. What do we want to do about those kayak racks?
We own those?
Yeah, we had talked about
Built them, right?
renting them out.
Really nice. Yeah,
And saying, you know, you could sign up and pay, I don't know what's a reasonable amount of money to pay to leave your boat there and just padlock it to the thing.
we
that
have
was-
2 of them,
We have 6 spots, 2 of them,
2 with, yeah.
No. 12 spots.
Yeah, to say 6 per
We can't do math.
rack, right?
Or do we just say, if you want to use them, and it's not
You
our
were talking
responsibility?
about, I think, well, if you purchased some kayaks and you rented the kayaks out.
I do longer term want to look into that. There's actually a vendor that will set up a whole system that's like a self-service thing. There's some liability and things you have to figure out. That is another option. We've done the boat nights. We didn't get a whole lot of attendance. We used to do our own rentals, but it just turned into a mess because we can't manage them. I do think like a self-service rental would be kind of cool. It was a vendor that did it. They set up like a whole cage and like you pay online and it gives you the code or whatever, like the truck rental.
So do you know, back to your original question, if we rented out that slot, whatever, and they get into their kayak on our property, are we liable? If something happens?
I don't know. My guess is you'd have a waiver. I mean, I think if we could ask those questions, then let's table this. We'll have to go to council. We'll be waiting months.
Probably should, yeah.
But I think-
That's what came up in the past with liability with the kayaks.
You know, the thought is you pay
I
your
think it's
20
a great
bucks.
idea.
Basically, it's just letting you leave your boat there. And then what you do with it is your problem. You tell them they got a term, they can stay there for so many months.
Yeah.
You know, so if that's the case, do we just say there, you know, if you're at this point, you can leave your boat there at your own risk and it's first come, first serve and leave it alone? Or do we want to try and research it further?
Do it cheap,
You know,
real cheap.
I'm thinking just put up
At least get it out there.
$20 and, you know, say you can sign up to 12 spots, pay whatever, $20-30. And that lets you leave your boat there through, I don't know, November 1st.
And they just secure it themselves.
It's your responsibility. We have no responsibility for it.
Yeah,
You know, it's a public access point.
right.
You know, we'll have a waiver in the software that we use for everything else. And
Yeah.
then somebody's using them. And that boat ramp is vastly improved now.
Yeah.
So I guess, I mean, are we trying that then for this year and just putting it out? What do we think? What do you think is reasonable?
I think cheap is
What
reasonable.
would you pay for that?
Maybe, and you know, just thinking out loud, we've gone with if you're from town, it's a cheaper rate than if you're from out of town. You know, do a little bit of a different rate just because we want to highlight, you know.
I'm kind of think I would almost say maybe even Mendon only the first go around.
Yeah.
If they don't sell.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I think that's,
That's the situation where I would feel okay with restricting that to residents, at least initially. Because I think that's one of the things people complain about is, well, I don't live on the lake, what do I get? But all my tax dollars are paying for it.
right.
So you're talking about paying for a space on that rack?
You're renting a space so you don't have to, you could leave your boat there and not have to bring it out of your car every time you want a kayak. That's the advantage to the person.
Yeah, it's a little bit of work. You see the people burning them down and
Digging all those carts.
especially when you have kids with them.
I got a canoe that I would put on that.
Yeah.
Rent it out.
Same thing.
Yeah.
If we're gonna do it, I would be the first one to rent space.
So like,
So what? I'll have to get some number of things for him. What would you pay them? 20, 40 bucks? 50 bucks? I don't know.
You're talking for what period?
the whole summer.
I think if we did it, we would just say it's for the whole summer
Yeah, the
through,
whole summer.
through, September 1st.
We try to keep things very, very reasonable for Mendon. So
$50 is reasonable.
50 is, you think? It's not too
So
high.
You make it, if it's all summer,
That's all.
I don't pay $50 to keep my canoe down there, and you could even say till after Labor Day.
Yeah. Does it hold canoes?
Yeah, it holds anything.
It looks it.
I had to look, there
Have you
might be
seen
one
it?
of them we gotta reinforce a
So
little.
then what do you just lock it on there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the way it's done, you'd have to put like a bike lock. In fact, we probably want to require them to be locked on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not gonna leave it down there and you
Yeah,
and not lock it on there.
so I don't know. We probably should run it by council. You're probably right. So we may need to just double check that we're not inadvertently creating a disaster.
That'd be the only thing is if they,
Make
I
sure.
mean,
that-
if we had a way to say you have to get in the water by the,
Yeah,
right away or whatever that is.
we're just separated.
We'd have to go that way and you just have to, or could we leave the racks over there?
They are pretty much right down there now.
Yeah.
So it's in that path.
We just going to be in the way of the fire if they need to get in there.
Yeah, well, I know we pretty aggressively put up some signage like every 3 feet up there about no parking, tow zone.
Yeah,
And that's worked pretty good.
yeah.
And at some point we gotta talk to fire about some ideas for that. I want to get that dry line off the ground. But I was thinking hanging on the fence, but then people were saying it might pull the fence over because it weighs a ton. But maybe if we were to get some sort of a rack built, because the problem is it just gets overgrown. That's another project if somebody has any ideas to think about.
So we going from here somewhere else or we gonna,
Was it? Yeah,
Are
we
we
gotta be
gonna-
careful because technically we have to record everything now, but I think we can have like a site visit if we want to go look. I don't have too much time today.
You don't have to do it today.
It'd be good to have we should have a conversation with Brian. And then we should also look at Morrison Drive. I think those are the two things we should do at some point.
well, he can track down Brian today, or do you wanna go?
Well, I want to talk to Brian as well. There was some things I want to go and actually, so I don't, I want to talk about mowing of town hall. Like, I don't want them using the big mower on a lot of town hall, even though it's theoretically possible. Because it'll get trashed.
So why don't we do
Things like
Morrison
that.
Drive in an actual meeting and set up a meeting?
So if we want to
Do
do
we
that.
want anybody to be there with us other than us three?
The only one I would ask if he's around is Tom. Just 'cause
Tom Dell?
if you want, because he's knowledgeable about stuff. But it might, just to walk around and brainstorm, what could you do?
I think it's an awesome idea, to be that proactive with that. It's really good. Even like you said, to really line it up, and people can go look and say, because I think they'd be pretty supportive about us taking the building. I think, like you said, the townspeople want to see that used they don't want to see it sold privately, I don't think, at all.
Based on the previous process of all that, so the town by law cannot sell it for less than its appraised value. And its appraised value is like $500-something thousand.
Yeah, wow.
They got 2 bids. Both of them were way under, and basically it's not viable.
Yeah,
It has no frontage. It has no utilities. You're gonna have to do some funky subdivision. It's not, it has no appeal on the private market.
Yeah, too much money.
The only one who is Meehan, because he kept an easement in the back so he could access it. But he, probably logically wanted credit for his investment into that thing, which even if they wanted to, they can't do because they can't let it go for under 500,000.
Yeah.
So I think he gave up on it. I haven't heard any more on that.
So take advantage of the opportunity.
So I think it's just going to sit there and rot unless somebody proposes something for it. So it might as well.
Oh. All right.
All right, so I guess that works.
Anything else?
We're done. If we want to talk about, I mean, I don't know. We probably should just pick somewhat of a regular meeting date. It probably would help organize things a little better.
Fine with me.
Your thoughts? I know. I mean, it seems like we would meet during the day, and then maybe once or twice if we get to meet at night with, a representative from the group.
But once it gets,
It's
everything
pretty
gets
few
all
and far
settled, we
between.
can meet down at the building, the parks building, right? We've done that.
We've done that in the summer, yeah.
Yeah,
Once,
so
I mean,
that
it's
works
hard
out
because there's no utilities. So, I mean, now everything's on. You still have to walk all the way up there.
Yeah.
But I don't know if there's a date or time that works for people.
No, none particular.
I don't know. I mean, this was the
Oh,
Wednesday. Wednesdays aren't always the greatest for me. You can do any day you think in the
yeah,
I'm
I
gonna
get
just
the summer
try to-
off. I'm not working at all this summer. Retirement in full bloom this summer.
Oh. I think maybe towards the end of the month if we did, I mean,
June. Like, you probably want to do one before we have our opening.
well, that'll be it.
So I'd say we do it the week before that, so we make sure. So if we're talking 29th, right?
2, 3, 4, if we just say the fourth, whatever of the month. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, something like that.
Just double check. 'Cause I
I
know
mean, if we stick to like 10 or 11, I'm usually available. Get back to
yeah, I'm away
you.
on the
Okay,
28th, back on the 28th, but I'm not sure what time.
all right, so when do you leave?
We'll leave on the 22nd.
So let's plan on,
So if we have to meet, we'll meet.
So the 21st, I'm around, Friday the 21st.
I can do, yeah. We don't typically work Fridays, but
We could do the 20th maybe, or you're here
yeah, we
already.
can do this 20th.
I don't have, the only risk that week, by Thursday, we should be good. I just,
I can do the 20th.
during the summer, actually, we need to avoid that 11 to 1 time slot because I'm gonna potentially need to be available for things that happen at the park.
Do it after one, do
So
it
if we
earlier.
either do, I think on that, I would say, we want to plan on like probably 10ish
On the 20th.
on the 20th with just, we might, if stuff hits the fan, we might have to adjourn by 11:30. That's all.
So 10 o'clock on the 20th?
Let's
Okay.
let's go with that for now.
Here up at the park.
So that's the problem during the day. We're not gonna be able to use any space at the park
Right.
because of the camp.
So we can do it
And
here.
we'd have to meet here.
Or do you want to meet?
I usually just meet in this space when it's just the three of us, unless you want to go upstairs, but it seems like it's less work. Deal with all that.
When do we want to go look at
And then
Morrison?
I'm fairly open. I have a lot of stuff at night. And if we're all gonna go as a meeting, maybe we can find a time next week.
Yeah.
Um,
The day's good for me. Wednesday's better. I kind of,
Wednesday.
let's see, Tuesday after my grandson to speech, but I can do,
Wednesday would be good for me because I have a bunch of stuff in the afternoon anyway.
yeah.
So
Wednesday's
I'm already
good
gonna
for
lose
me.
a chunk of the day. I probably need to be done by no later than 2 o'clock.
Can do Wednesday.
So
Wednesday,
I want to do 10 or 11.
just meet at Morrison.
Yeah,
Do 10 at Morrison.
I plan on that, and I'll post that and just as a site visit.
What time did you say, Ted?
And then we can talk about. Oh. I mean, I do think that property behind there has athletic field potential too, so. It does make sense, and then, Trask is the other one, but it's way far away.
Good. 10 o'clock. Got it. All right. Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second,
All in favor?
Oh,
All right. Good first meeting. Exciting. I'm excited.
what did we say, 6/20? And then, what was the other date? Next week there,
20th for the
next week would be
Wednesday the 5th.
5th of June, yeah. Morrison.
in the minutes. Oh, yeah, and then if you want to go over to chat with Brian, we can do that if you had some time now.
Yeah, we can do
That's
that.
actually- I'm gonna
All right.
do some stuff.
See you, Dan. See you, John.
Yeah. Oh, shoot, I'm gonna stop.